the beauty of media men, they are spontaneous. Your Excellency, Your Excellency, the Governor of KOGI State, our beloved White Lion. I love to call him the Commander-in-Chief of Projects. Your Excellency, Governor YAHAYA BELLO, we welcome you here. Let me welcome His Excellency, the Deputy Governor of the state, a very committed ally to the Governor, Sir Dr. Edward David Onoja. Your Excellency, I welcome you here. You're welcome. I'd like to welcome the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Prince Matthew Kolawale. You're also welcome. I'd like to welcome all the members of the State Executive Council, members of the State House of Assembly. But before I begin to introduce the giants of the media that are here, let me quickly inform His Excellency the Governor that this hall will have been fuller. There are several buses in all the 3 senatorial districts carrying journalists to see your projects. And so they're all in the field because I told them this morning that the man is a field marshal of projects. Go and see for yourselves. That's why they're all there. Huh? So let me welcome members of all the people sitting around you. I'd like to welcome the chairman of the Board of Trustees. And I told him this morning that when I was growing and reading columns of people, it was one of those people that I read that formed who I am and shaped my worldview. I'd like to welcome Dr. Harun Adamu this morning. Let me also welcome Mr. Samuel Yemi Akeju, Chief Administrator and member of the Board of Trustees. I welcome you too, sir. Mark Emakwere, former Director, Broadcast Monitoring, NBC, a leading light in broadcasting. He's also here with us. I welcome you, sir. Professor Remy Akujobi is also here with us. Prof. Aha. I'd like to welcome Alhaji Mohammed Danyaro, member of the Board of Trustees, also here. Alhaji Dan Karufi, Alhaji Garba Bello Kankarufi, former MD Radio Kano, former Registrar CEO of APCON, former member of the board, no, currently member of the Board of Trustees. I welcome, no, I can't sack you. I can't sack you. I welcome you. Mr. Ademi Adediran, the Deputy Chief Registrar. I don't even know where he is right now. He's a very busy man. I welcome him. I kept this man for last. He's your son. The first bishop of the Anglican Church right here in KOGI State. The oldest media practitioner in our midst today. Former DG of FRCN. Former president of the Commonwealth Broadcasting Association. He's here with his lovely wife. Some of us younger people, when we travel, we don't go with our wives. I don't know why. But he's here with his wife. But there's a title around him that as a Christian I would have loved to have. They call him a fool for Christ. He has given his life to serve God. Sir, please can you rise, please? Okay, sit down. Now, in the military, Your Excellency, they say your wife is a rank higher than you. So if we gave him one round of applause, can we give double to the wife? I'd like to welcome all the media giants here. But let me single out one person, Your Excellency. He is my Egbon. Over 4 decades in broadcasting, radio and television. He is still here with his gobi, Prince Bisi Olatilo. Let me also welcome former Director General of FRCN, currently now Federal Commissioner, Public Complaints Commission, Honorable Abubakar Bitijiwa, MFR. And then I have here the General Manager, the National Theatre, Professor Sunday E. Ododo. Where are you, sir? Did I get the pronunciation of your name right? Ododo. You know why it's beautiful? In Yoruba land, Ododo is flower. Oh, you are just a beautiful man. Okay. And so, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is therefore my pleasure to welcome all of you to this special media roundtable with the leading lights of the media fraternity. Those who have committed their lives to using the media to midwife a better nation. The pantheon of these media generals, and when you look at them all, they are media generals, is so rich. Your Excellency, they are wonderful people. Seated around you, in front of you, are professionals with outstanding qualities. If you call them giants, you will be right. They have the craft, Your Excellency. And like you, who is a white lion, they also have the courage. Some of them have climbed the tallest trees, fought the strongest battles because of this profession and because of Nigeria. So, Your Excellencies, I welcome you to the Media Roundtable with these professionals that I can spell with capital P. So this roundtable is about how can we use the media to drive and build a better nation. I welcome all of you, but it's actually the duty of His Excellency, the Deputy Governor of the state, who looks very, very handsome and very young, and also looks as handsome as all the media men here. Please join me as I welcome Sir Dr. Edward David Onaja.
Your Excellency, the amiable, dynamic Governor of KOGI State, Alhaji YAHAYA BELLO, Right Honorable Speaker, KOGI State House of Assembly, Prince Matthew Kolawole, the Chairman, Board of Trustees, Nigeria Media Merit Award, and other members of trustees here present, the guest speaker of the day, the Chief of Staff to His Excellency, honorable commissioners here present, leaders of the media industry, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the chairman of today's roundtable, His Excellency, and the good people of KOGI State, We give God all the glory that we are here sound with our strength for this occasion. And I want to specially, once again, welcome all of you to this roundtable discussion, believing that at the end of the day, we would have been able to lay a foundation and chart a course of how the Nigerian media space would be able to help solve the challenges of nation building in our dear country, Nigeria. Have a pleasant roundtable. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, the Deputy Governor, and taking it straight to the point. Let me quickly correct myself here. Alhaji Jijiwa was the former DG of VON and former chairman of Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria. So we will, if there's any punishment attached to wrong information, when we finish, the journalist can give me that punishment. But for being DG of VON, can we put our hands together for him, ladies and gentlemen? And so without much ado, let me quickly invite the chairman of the roundtable, also chairman of the Board of Trustees, publisher, columnist, scholar, one of the finest journalists, and like I told him earlier, I read him almost like I read my Bible. Please welcome here, Alhaji Harun Adam.
Your Excellency, the Governor of KOGI State, I stand on existing protocol. We're here gathered this afternoon to listen to an erudite scholar and university administrator who will whet our appetite in order that we can contribute meaningfully to the discourse of the topic by the media leaders roundtable on the state of affairs of our industry. The MC mentioned earlier that the hall was not filled because some members are still on duty. May I have this opportunity of confirming what he said? I was on duty from 9 a.m. with the members of our team in the government house and proceeded to 4 projects in Lokoja, after which I then thought I could go along with the same team to Kaba. But I then decided to venture into the Dangote Academy. And just as I was getting there, I received a call from the administrator that, Mr. Chairman, the governor would be on seat at 1 p.m. I said, well, we have not started. And then it was 5 minutes to 12. So I had to turn and rush and join you here. So you can see what the MC had said, that the entire, nearly 50% of our media, men and women, are still going around the projects which were identified as worthy of assessing. Media Roundtable, an annual event by the National Nigeria Media Merit Award, preceding the evening of performance evaluation and performance celebration. What we're going to see, hear and learn this afternoon would give us a foretaste of what you will see this evening regarding the performance of the men and women of this industry that is full of danger. It's an industry that is essentially a military service, and for those who venture their capital into it, they do not know whether what they are investing in will give them a high rate of return. Also, and those who involve themselves as practitioners do not know whether they will end up in prison. For some of us, we had the taste of both. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to ask the MC to give you the introduction of the scholar and guest speaker this afternoon. Thank you very much, Mr.
It is only in journalism that you can be the age of our chairman and still be speaking grammar. Today, we appreciate you in a different way. I was listening to you speak, and the qualities of a good journalist that all of these amazing people have begin to run in my head. And I said, what are those qualities? They must be ethical. They must have integrity. They must be courageous, bold, good communication skills, and a knowledge of technology. And all of these people, if Nigeria is going to the World Cup of journalism, they make first 11. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, let me welcome our keynote speaker, the Vice Chancellor of the Federal University of Kashere, Gombe State. But beyond that, you could call him the Professor of Professors. Amazing person. If all of the men who are seated here are giants in journalism, are people of excellence, this professor is. I don't want to say much. He will display it. Please welcome Professor Umar Patek.
Your Excellency, the Governor of KOGI State, YAHAYA BELLO, We see you from afar. We admire your qualities, and we pray God will answer your prayer. The Deputy Governor, the Honorable Speaker, members of the State House of Assembly, members of the State Executive Council, the Chairman of Board of MMA, Chief Administrator, members of the Board of Trustees, our retired and serving media executives, distinguished media personalities here present, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. But permit me to specifically single out one of the grandfathers of broadcasting in Nigeria, Mr. George Bako. I've read a lot about you, starting from your historic performance in Radio Kaduna when it was RTK, up to the days when you were in NBC, eventually the first Director General of FRCN, and most importantly, the legacy you have left as a masterpiece dotting the landscape of Abuja, the FRCN building. However, you will be eternally remembered because, if not for anything, for that masterpiece. Others that you have started with wouldn't continue, but for you and I, Rumodibo, FRCN is able to get a befitting building in Abuja. We pray other media organizations will follow suit. Permit me, sir, to also express my gratitude to the organizers for finding me worthy to be invited to address a very distinguished gathering like this, a galaxy of the media in Nigeria, in the presence of a great achiever, the governor of KOGI State, whom ordinarily I may not have the opportunity of sitting very close to, but today, courtesy of the MMNA, I have that opportunity. So I thank them for that honor. I am here to also join them in celebrating professionalism, celebrating excellence, and celebrating hard work, particularly in the media industry. I pray that other Nigerians will also emulate and recognize excellence wherever it exists. I have been asked to speak on the media and the challenges of nation building in Nigeria as of today. Initially, I prepared PowerPoint presentation, but when I came in, I realized that it would be better for me to just talk to the paper, since I did not inform them earlier to make arrangements for that. And in the introduction, I said, in October 2021, Nigeria marked 61 years of independence as a nation. So far as we have all known, the journey has been mixed. Nigeria transformed from a centralized and regionally structured country to 36-state federal nation with advances in politics, economics, general social coexistence, and of course, in all other sectors. No matter what one can say, we have achieved a lot, we have made progress, but we could do better. Nigeria's current population is estimated about 210 million. If you check the UNFPA website, it's there. And the country itself is plural, diverse, multiculturally, and highly endowed, even though we talk about our potentiality more than our endowments. 61 years on, one would have expected that the country has overcome the basic issues of infrastructure, communal insecurity, identity crisis, unity, and the battles of requirement for growth and development. Ideally, 61 years on, we should be bothering about sustaining efficiency, debating quality, refining policies, and scaling up for global competition. However, we are still at the lower ebb, battling basic issues of social reality that undermine the integrity of the nation and subvert the process of nation building as well as that of national integration. Poor management and politicization of issues of identity and diversity have remained cogs in the process of nation building as well as national integration. And you cannot talk about nation building without talking about integration, without talking about issues of identity, as well as the actual reality surrounding our circumstances. What are some of the pains of Nigeria? All of us here are eminently equipped, well informed about these issues. So what I'm trying to do here, or what I intend to do here, is simply to provoke us to think more and possibly talk more and reflect on the journey so far. Now, the pains of Nigeria are 61. Ethno-religious violence, insurgency, violent crimes, terrorism, widespread corruption, poor governance, and incompetent and worsening management of our diversity as well as our multicultural settings have continuously undermined the peaceful as well as the integrative processes and the actual business of nation building in this country. For somebody like me, who is coming from the northeast region of Nigeria, I know what insurgency means. I know what lack of peace means. And there are three things which we take usually for granted in life. One, we take peace for granted until the day you lose it. Two, you take good health for granted until the day you miss it. And three, you take freedom for granted until the day you are locked up. These are three things which are common, but you wouldn't know how important they are until the day you miss any one of them. Right now, if I ask some of you, can you please go to Maiduguri and invest, or Borno State generally to invest in some parts of Borno State? You will say no. Not because you wouldn't want to, not because there will be no profit to make, but because you are not sure of the peaceful environment in that area. Similarly, the day you become sick, you will know what it means to have full health and move around. And then the day your wife decides to lock you up in the house, maybe mistakenly, without your own consent, then you will know what it means to be free and move around. Then poverty also, coupled with weak institutions and indiscipline, have also heightened a lot of our problems. And now, to worsen the matters, we have hate speech and fake news, or rather disinformation, compounding our problems relating to nation building. Ethnic fundamentalists, whom we hear daily, are busy rewriting the history of Nigeria. Today, when you read a lot of information from sometimes very prominent individuals that have enjoyed Nigeria at its best, talking, you feel whether you are reading the same history that are in the books from what the people are saying. What we have today, for example, you have Igbo history of Nigeria, Yoruba history of Nigeria, Fulani history of Nigeria, Tiv history of Nigeria, Hausa history of Nigeria, not Nigeria's history of Nigeria. Nigeria is increasingly being defined and presented through sectional and partial interpretation from ethnic champions. And our young people who are growing up are denied the opportunity of having a correct picture of how this nation has grown, how we have developed, and what we need to do. Nigeria is poorer as lies and hatred predominate, poisonous information overflow, and the people are sharply and dangerously polarized based on suspicions, heightened fear, and uncertainty. Any moment you say you want to travel to one part of the country, the first question they will ask you, are you sure it will be safe for you? Coming to KOGI this morning, some people even warned me, there are a lot of people, don't forget I'm coming from the northeast.
So for me, KOGI is even safer. And so yesterday I was in Enugu. I was supposed to come by road. Then my people said, no, you have to fly back to Abuja and then come to Oloko. I said, I don't mind. I don't think if I'm kidnapped, my ransom will be high. so, but on a very serious note, the issue of fear and uncertainty is in the minds of almost everyone. And most, especially even the media, that should help to clear the minds, sometimes do not help matters. And we get frightened unnecessarily on issues. Now, suspicions and stereotypes endanger the process of national integration and nation building, no doubt about it. And these suspicions are again all over the place. Nobody is sure of anybody, again, because of so many factors. Now, the country is dangerously segmented on the lines of politics, religion, ethnicity, and socio-economic differences. Not only that, if you care to read reports from UNDP, you see that Nigeria is categorized among the countries with the highest level of segmentation in terms of income levels. Those who have and those who don't have. And the implications are clear. It's a matter of time. We either work towards closing the gap for those that do not have to feel that they also belong, or we all end up paying the prices that we wouldn't want. Hardly is there a part of the country today that is not battling or simmering with one violent conflict situation or the other. Of course, in the Northeast, we are battling with issue of insurgency. If you go to the North Central, they are battling with issue of ethno-religious conflicts. If you go to the Southwest, they are battling with areas of area boys and maybe armed robbers. You go to the Southeast, you know what is happening there too. You go to the South-South, it is the battle of resource control, armed robbery, kidnappings. So in almost, if you go to Abuja, it is corruption unlimited. So wherever you go, there is one bad story or another to confront. Then widespread corruption envelopes the nation. Any day you read reports from EFCC, ICPC, the number of zeros are simply unexplainable. Sometimes when you see the zeros, just yesterday, it was in the newspapers, 2 civil servants were arrested with about how many houses? One had about 30-something, another one 20-something houses in Abuja alone, inside Abuja alone. And these are civil servants. So you wonder, are they civil servants or evil servants? If this is what they could steal while in office, within a period of 35 years, then offensive speech and fake information are now circulating so limitlessly in the country that sometimes you wonder what is correct and what is incorrect. You read a newspaper, before then you might have read about 5, 10 different stories on the social media on the same subject. At the end of the day, you are confused and cognitively disorganized. Now, all of that undermine the process of national integration, undermine trust among the people, which is key, divert resources from actual project implementation to studying and development. Instead of putting up structures, busy on how we can even settle, we are still debating, are we still a nation? Are we still a country? So the resources are still going into debates on settling the issue. Now, nation building and national integration. Nigeria has been struggling with different approaches to build the country. Over the years, we have tried so many models. We have experimented with different theories on how Nigeria can grow, on how Nigeria can develop. If you could remember, some years back, we had what you could call national development plans. We came into national rolling plans and all sorts of plans. That is on the economic or socio-economic front. Politically, we have attempted parliamentary, we have attempted military, and we are now in the presidential system. We have tried different political systems, implemented numerous economic measures, adopted various educational policies. If you can remember, some of us who went to school in the 70s had a different system. Those who are, I think now is this 6334, 63, and then before then it was a different system. Now, we have evolved all sorts of social measures. Then, all of that aimed towards what? Transforming the nation to facilitate the process of what? Nation building. The growth and development level of the nation have continuously failed to correlate with its resources. Yes, we have developed. We have grown from where we were in 1960 to date. But the argument is, if you compare the rate of our development to the quantum of resources that we have had from then to date, we ought to be far higher than where we are. That's the argument. Contradictions of abundance of oil money and widespread poverty, as well as an affluent few and the majority poor, stare all of us on the landscape of Nigeria. How many people today can say they are comfortable in this country compared to those who are below the poverty line? And if you take a look at the graph of our economic development in this country in the last 10, 20, 15 years, is the poverty level or the poverty index improving or going down? Every year, we get the poverty index from the United Nations Development Program, UNDP. And every year, we continue to go down the ladder, which means we need to do more. Nation building connotes national development. I am not going into all these theoretical arguments about this, but in very, very simple terms. And what do we mean by national development, at least in the Nigerian context? We are talking of issue of unity. First of all, there must be unity of minds of the people for us to agree to move on forward. Then qualitative and quantitative improvement in the living standard and for progression of the human development index in the country. No matter what we do, so long as the people continue to wallow in abject poverty, penury, and suffering, development will not come. So long as the people remain illiterate, there is no way they could concentrate to think and produce things that will move the nation forward. Now, what do we also mean by national integration? This is something that we take for granted. Many of us simply say national unity, national integration. But in the actual sense, national integration is not something that is in a magic. It's something people work towards ensuring that it is practicalized. We have seen what happened in Sudan, how Southern Sudan cut away. We have seen what happened in Ethiopia, how Eritrea broke away. We have seen what happened in Eastern Europe, the Soviet Union bloc, and some other places, which means it should not be taken for granted. Anything can happen. Now, integration means living together or fusing together. It is the gradual diminution of ethnic, cultural, and regional tendencies with the aim of creating a homogeneous political community. This is not to suggest that people shouldn't have their own tribal or rather ethnic backgrounds. No. But then there should be some universally accepted points of unity where all of us will agree and then subdue our own points of sentiments and agree on some points where we can all unite. Now, several national policies in governance, trade, education, transportation, socio-cultural exchanges accelerated the processes of integration in this country. In the past, education was one of the strongest weapons of integration in this country. Some of us went to schools out of our communities. From Yola went to another place for my secondary school, from there to another place for my university, and all of that. And many of us here went to secondary schools out of our communities, went to universities far from our communities. But today, it could be possible for me to have a wife on the campus of University of Lokoja, for example, if I'm a lecturer there, have a child who will go to the university nursery, the university primary, Nigeria. And the books that we read are not as before. People hardly read. Newspapers, people hardly read. And the media is so saturated with entertainment without giving you the opportunity to know what is happening elsewhere. At the end of the day, your mind is totally provincialized or localized to your own community. You are born in Lagos, NYSC in Lagos, secondary school in Lagos, university in Lagos. The highest you have gone is perhaps Ogun. Never crossed the Niger. So when they talk about Maiduguri, it sounds like some other world. When somebody in Maiduguri talk about rivers, it sounds like it's in another country. At the end of the day, we all sit in our own. We have developed policies in the past aimed at promoting integration in governance, in the military. They have to bring people from different places. In government, you have structures to ensure that there is semblance and attraction of people from different areas so that any group or every part of the country will have that sense of belonging. Structures like the Federal Civil Service, federal departments and institutions, the armed services, the police force, and all others become symbols and guarantors of national unity in Nigeria before we started destroying some of these bases. Federal character representation, for example, platforms like political parties, you have to ensure there is some level of spread. Then business interactions. All over the place, you have people traveling, doing their businesses, revenue allocation, etc., have all been supportive pillars in cementing the blocks of Nigeria's unity. But the moment you start tinkering poorly with some of these things, then problems are bound to occur. Disruptive forces to integration and nation building are very visible all over the place. One, poverty. Poverty is so damaging and multifaceted to the human being that anybody who is poor will be ready to submit himself for anything in his effort to graduate from the class of poverty. Then poor governance has manifested in different ways. Then corruption, of course, we know it. And where people steal all the resources to the detriment of the collective majority, then there will bound to be problem. Of course, politicization of diversity issues, a very sensitive issue in Nigeria. But once, either at the state level, or at the federal level, or even at the local government level, diversity issues are poorly managed, then you are bound to have unnecessary conflicts that will divert resources and divert attention. Then official incompetence manifested all over the place. Then economic hardship. Economic hardship has its own consequences, like I've said earlier. Institutional weaknesses. Many of our institutions are unnecessarily weak. They are unable to do what they are supposed to do as either defined in the Constitution or based on the laws establishing them. You have bigger and more powerful individuals than institutions. And where individuals are more powerful than institutions, you are bound to have personal and selfish ways of doing things. And that too has its own consequences. Then deprivation, you could see it. A deprived individual is aggressive. Like we often say in communication, great expectations, if not fulfilled, lead to great frustration. Great frustration results in great aggression. Great aggression, of course, is dangerous for all of us. Then crime, violent crimes, daily, all over the place. Every day when you open a newspaper, the number of people that are killed are simply unexplainable. Life has become so cheap that we are no longer shocked with numbers of people dying. Will you just read it? Oh, okay, in Yobe they are close today again. In so place, in Kaduna. So nobody, it doesn't even strike our hearts. Life has become so cheap and meaningless. Then violence. social injustice. Where you have social injustice, you should not expect development, because some groups will be angry and try to subvert whatever progress you are thinking of making. They will always be there, directly or indirectly. Then unemployment. Our unemployment rate is hitting 30-something% based on statistics from the National Bureau of Statistics. And we cannot continue moving with this time bomb. Every year we graduate millions of students. Then the question is, what visible efforts are we making to create hope in the minds of these young people who are coming up? Or do we simply fold our arms, assume that one day we'll just wake up and everybody will be employed in Nigeria and things will be okay, which is an impossibility. So what visible effort are we making? Then next one is issue of decreasing opportunities. Opportunities are dangerously daily decreasing. You have people who can no longer meet their milestones in life. As a young man, after graduating, you have a milestone. Milestone A, milestone B, milestone. But how many of our young people today are meeting their milestones? At the age of 30, people are still unmarried. At the age of 35, people are still unemployed. At the age of 40, people are looking hopeless and helpless. And when you have this, all the milestones are missed. What will be the consequence in the near future? What will be the effects on aspects of development, nation building, and integration? Then the social media has also come with its own brand of problems to add on to the ones that we have been managing all along. Of course, the social media has its own blessings, limitless. It has created limitless opportunities, brought down boundaries, both physical and imaginary, and brought the world closer. However, in our own case, in addition to these limitless opportunities, it has also brought brand new problems that we have to manage. Of course, hate speech has always been with us, but not at the level we are experiencing now, because the opportunity to disseminate the hate speech is not there. Now, with your cheap Android phone, all you need is a data of 100 naira, access to the internet, and you become a reporter, an editor, the director, as well as whatever you are. And you disseminate information to some few groups, and then the news will go on and on and on, and before we know it, it becomes actual information. But it's all based on lies. You sat in your room to manufacture the lie and distribute it. And this is what we are seeing. So, not only hate speech, it distributes insults. You know, it's easier to call on phone and abuse somebody or send a text to abuse him than when you see him face to face. So we are now distributing insults all over the place, lies, of course, fake news. These are all destructive to collective existence, undermines trust, and above all, defeats the purpose of national unity. Now, what are some of the negative tendencies that we see daily, sometimes promoted by the media too? I'm part of the media. Now, when you have selective reporting and the promotion of prejudicial stereotypes about groups and individuals based on incomplete facts, mischief, and ignorance. Many of us no longer engage in research. Investigative journalism is low. And what do? Sometimes, dangerously, we even depend on the social media to get information that we suppress. The NBC, I know, has been fighting a war with some of our FM radio stations on taking information directly from the social media to disseminate. You don't even know the source, you don't know who the editor is, then you get the information and before you know it, it's gone. And you know, information is like a bullet. Once you release it, you cannot retract it. And for us in communication, what we define information is simple. Information is uncertainty management. Once you are not certain about something, you are not informed. Once you are certain, you are informed. So information is creating creating certainty in the minds of people. And if you create certainty on the basis of ignorance, on the basis of lies, then you are malinforming or misinforming or disinforming, but not informing certainly. And these are the characteristics of fake news. And we see them all over the place. Now, secondly, we have many have poor pictures of the complexities of our composition as a country. Some of us don't know Nigeria. matters are ethnicized, regionalized, religionized, or provincialized, not on the basis of merit or politicized. Simple issues that you can talk and settle, you give it ethnic coloration. And then it becomes we versus them. Or religionize it, not on the basis of its own merit. And we see it all over, from our parliaments into our executive offices, to our institutions, and even to the market. And everyone, people's minds are dangerously poisoned daily. And they see the other fellow as an enemy on the basis of his ethnic background, not on the basis or on the conduct or rather on the color of his character. You go and commit all sorts of crimes, your people will go to court and shout on your behalf, while you are dangerously engaged in crime. So, and this cannot help the cause of nationality. So long as justice is missing, so long as we do not respect the rule of law, there's no way. The next one, weak research capacities among media professionals have also manifested in deficits of what? Knowledge about the country. If we are to do a current affairs right now in this hall, about our ministers, about our governors, about our various regions, you'll be shocked with what the results will be. So then we have shallow reporting and episodic attitudes in news coverage and program production. How many, now, what is NTA's, for example, this is just an example, budget for programs relating to, let's say, serious documentaries about the nation? When last did you watch a very serious documentary on the history, geography, or even the sociology of our various communities on our TV stations? It's simple. It is a matter of commercialization. Who will pay for it to be aired? And you cannot expect investigative journalism, serious documentaries, so long as somebody is going to pay for that to happen. It becomes PR. Now, common tendency of reporting intergroup conflicts out of their fundamental sociological and economic or political contexts. A lot of these issues happening have their own backgrounds. Some are politically, some are historical, but how many of us are even aware of some of these histories? Then, generalized statements not supported by facts and figures on very sensitive national integrative issues. Somebody will simply corner some reporter somewhere, my people are marginalized. And then the next thing you see it as headline without facts. Or our people are so. Issue of fact checking. So, and this naturally creates problem in the minds of people. Let me give a very, very simple example, how we ethnicize headlines. I won't deny I'm a Fulani in and out, but when I see Fulani herdsmen, so, Fulani this, Fulani that, I feel bad. I don't see Igbo permanent secretary, Yoruba permanent secretary, so. So why do we ethnicize? A criminal is a criminal, whether he is Fulani, whether he is Urobo, whether he is Ijo, a criminal is a criminal. Once you are taking an arm against Nigeria, you are a criminal. So why do you ethnicize without even investigating? So call the person's name. But when you condemn an entire group, the group now becomes angered for no reason. The Kanuris, Boko Haram is taking place in Borno, but nobody ever said Kanuri Boko Haram or Igbo IPOP or this and that. So this is the kind of example I'm giving. And it happens all over the place. Then what are some of the possible challenges? It's not that if the media is guilty, the media has its own challenges also. It is operating within the context of Nigeria. And you cannot just remove the media and say it should operate as an island of integrity in the midst of the contextual Nigerian climate. Now, one, all of us, not only the media, have limited knowledge of this country called Nigeria, including our leaders. Some of us, somewhere I advocated anybody who wants to be the president of Nigeria should travel by road from Port Harcourt to Sokoto, from Maiduguri to Lagos, and let him see Nigeria and know Nigeria. Interact with the people. No traveling by air. Travel by road. So by the time you see, you will know that Nigeria is not one local corner. Nigeria is huge, about 210 million people. look at the population, 970-something thousand kilometers. So Nigeria is huge. Nigeria is endowed, and the people are as heterogeneous as one could think. So the management must be based on a systemic thinking and strategic ways of putting these heads together for us to move. Then provincialization, that we are bringing people who do not know the country, who do not appreciate what it means for Nigeria to survive. Like I've given the example, when a child is brought up in just one corner and he does not read newspapers, no longer, we don't have any SW radio station to bring information for him. In the past, we had SW station in Enugu, Ibadan, Lagos, Kaduna. Anywhere you could tune to a radio station and get it. Today, there is no one single SW transmitter functioning. Number two, you cannot at one point tune to a radio station. This is the radio that can give you information for even the FRCN depends on FM stations. So a large portion of Nigeria is not covered. You go to a large portion of Borno, they don't receive a single Nigerian radio signal. The same thing with Yobe, the same thing with Taraba. So what they do is they depend on BBC, VOA, and others to hear Nigeria's story. They don't read newspapers, no TV signals. At the end of the day, it is not in our own strategic interests. There are large portions that are not covered by any radio signal in this country. Lagos, Ibadan, one transmitter can cover Lagos to Ibadan, but not in the north. There are several portions. I did some years back broadcasting map of Nigeria with the support of an engineer. And there are a lot of areas. So we are playing with that, and that's why people could depend, they have to depend on the social media only. That's their only source of information where they have signals. And this information may not totally be correct all the time. Then, commercialization of the public media. The FRC and the NTA are totally commercialized. So, for any information to qualify for mentioning, must be based on payment. And how many communities can afford to be paid? How many issues can qualify to appear on these radio stations or TV stations? Because of that, a lot of issues are left uncovered. Then, ownership influence, of course, we know what that means. You are all part of the system. Then, the issue of societal malpractices. We know what the malpractices are: corruption, this and that, this and that. So how can we expect that the media will be completely isolated when it has to pay for the same diesel, it has to pay for the same this, for the same that? So these things are also infested with some of these issues. Then media professionals acting as judges or advocates for hidden interests. Sometimes you wonder when you read certain columns, are these people real professional media people, or there are some tribal warlords planted in the media houses to represent their own groups in the context of Nigeria? In newspapers that claim to be national, or in media organizations that claim to be national. Where do you draw a line between professionalism and tribalism? Then sometimes they represent some failed politicians who cause confusion. Sometimes you have them representing some religious groups. So all these, they do it as against the collective. Know this because we have done a study for the National Broadcasting Commission on issue of the enforcement of the Professional Code of Ethics in media organizations. And by the time you read that report, you know that we have a long way to go. And some of these things sometimes are done, they are done deliberately. So the issues are also there. Then cases of senior editorial staff acting as consultants or public relation advisors to politicians, their tribal groupings, or religious groups, especially towards election. When you read certain columns, you know that these people are not right issues to become national issues without any justification. Finally, the process of nation building, national integration, and development involves cognitive, affective, policy, and physical actions at all levels, starting from the level of the individual cognitive processes or system. What is my mind telling me about Nigeria? What is my thinking on Nigeria as a nation? It is from there it graduates. Then next, you have officials and individuals in the country at different levels, consciously or not, sometimes engaging in multiple actions that subvert integration, remove sense of belonging to people, and demonize and ostracize citizens resulting in disruptive behaviors. Our leaders must show the light, must appreciate what it means to have an integrated nation, and then lead the rest of us to follow. But when their actions, their behaviors, consciously or unconsciously, prove otherwise, then they shouldn't blame the lower level. The mass media in Nigeria have also played mixed roles at different times in the integrative process. The social media is also hugely being used, like we have said, to create opportunities. But at the same time, too, we need to be conscious on how it's been distributing hate and dangerous speech and disseminating disinformation or fake news that demonize citizens, cause disruptive behaviors, that subvert unity, cause conflict, and undermine development. Daily, you hear our leaders, you hear serious people in this country complaining about these negative acts. So it is an issue we have to put into consideration when we are talking about the continuity as Nigeria as a nation and developing it to become a country like any other developed country in the world. That is our aim. And we have no any other place to go to but here, which means we have to work consciously and unconsciously to ensure that the project succeeds. What are the options? One, we have to promote media literacy, particularly among young people. Radio listening age in Nigeria today is above 50. People below 40 hardly listen to radio as you know it. And where they do, mostly music, which means radio may not necessarily be the final thing now. Newspapers, of course, we know. I don't think there's any newspaper in this country that rolls out 100,000 copies per day. Not that they wouldn't want to, but because the market is simply not there. So the future of the media is in audio and video as captured in convergence on our handsets, which means we have to invest in that if we want to remain in business and if we want to capture the minds of our people. Then we need to license as many more national broadcasting stations as we could, increase the investments, encourage government particularly to support its own media organizations, particularly the broadcast media organizations. They need to improve their funding so that these organizations can also be online, can participate fully in terms of content and in terms of technology to be able to capture the young and move on with them. Then encourage active and positive debates and exchange of ideas in the nation. Let's debate, let's talk. Let's talk. Then institute the teaching of history, diversity and multicultural issues among young people in the country. We need to know ourselves. We need to respect ourselves based on knowledge. Where you do not know, you may not respect the other thing. So we need to encourage that. And finally, encourage Nigerians and governments to respect the character of our diversity, the unity of our people, and not to take the unity of Nigeria for granted and continue to say Nigeria's unity is non-negotiable. If we take the lessons of what has happened in other countries, we need to also consciously work to ensure that our people, first of all, agree to stay together and have the confidence that Nigeria has something to offer, and they will also be willing to die for the nation. On this note, Your Excellency, let me thank you for your attention and thank everyone else.
I do know that we all stood up for the professor for a round of applause, but I took my meter, applause meter, and I looked at it. The applause was for a graduate assistant. This man is a professor. Can we do it again? Well, let me talk to you, Professor, directly. There was something you said, and some people clapped. You might not realize why. When you said anybody who is going to be president in Nigeria must travel by road. Did you notice that the hall changed? Did you notice? You know why? The governor that is sitting by you has never flown in Nigeria. Okay. So that's why. Whether he's going to Meduguri, whether he's going to Port Harcourt, he goes by road. Let's put our hands together for him, ladies and gentlemen. But I do appreciate what all of the things you said: kidnapping, armed robbery, banditry. The governor has worked on it, making Kogi State one of the safest. But I also do appreciate the fact that in the 162 years history of Nigerian media, starting from Iweroyin in Abeokuta, the Nigerian media has been serving the role of watchdog, setting the agenda. And let me borrow the word of the current MD of Guardian and Editor-in-Chief, Martin Sonoja. The majesty of their pen is setting the agenda for nation. So I welcome all of you. We'll be taking His Excellency the Governor is ready now. You can't take him unawares. It is time for question and answer. Your Excellency, I don't know how many you are ready to take. My producer told me to take 5. But I said the governor can supervise. He can take 50. And so the floor is open. 5 questions to start. The microphone is ready. Raise your hand, identify yourself, your media organization, and take your question. You're directing it to the governor. While we are raising our hands, let me welcome Honorable Sonny Zoro, a former national president of NUJ and former member of the House of Representatives. He's here with us. I welcome you. And so raise your hands. Do you want to take on the governor now? Or the one you did yesterday, you are okay? I can't see any hand up. Okay.
Please, I'm not preaching the protocol, sorry, Excellency, but I'm thinking I will listen to an erudite scholar.
Okay.
Lucid paper.
Okay.
As scholars, maybe you may not know that also scholars within us.
Okay.
I'm thinking that you have provided the space for us to respond to that paper because it's quite a
Okay. It takes, I'm a man under authority as I'm standing. Professor wants to take question. Governor wants to take question. We're in government's house. Also, let me talk to the governor directly. You allowed the professor to also take questions, but governor, please, we open the floor for you.
Thank you very much. In Kogi State, we do it differently.
Okay.
Though this is government house, the government is serving the people. So that's what the people want to do.
So, Prof, you can remove your mask. The questions are coming. Okay, so scholar. Go ahead, sir.
Sorry, Excellency, my name is Dr. Anule Imano. I write for John's France Presse, AFP. Excellency, I must tell you that I'm impressed and I'm happy that I'm part of this gathering this evening. I'm quite excited by Paul's presentation. My interest was provoked initially when I said, I'm just at the topic of the media and the challenges of the nation building. It's not in doubt, like the MC has said. I just want to draw the attention of the presenter, the lecturer, to my concern. You mentioned the issue of poverty as one of the challenges that the nation faces. And it is not limited to the media because we don't operate in a vacuum. We operate within a system. But Prof, I want to ask you sincerely. You mentioned passively. It was just one item you didn't broadly speak about, the issue of ownership of the media. I was expecting that, just like you spoke on several of those other items, you would have enlightened us much. Because I feel that ownership is one of the biggest problems that the media in Nigeria faces. And most times, when you hear people talk about blaming the media, connotatively it's just mentioned the media. People don't say journalists, they say the media. And I have a problem with that because I'm a journalist. You cannot call me media. You call me a journalist. When people blame the media, they say, there is but when you say media, you don't understand it. They are the adjuncts of communication. Radio, television, people own them. The political and the elite class in Nigeria own the media. I don't own them. And I'm sure 99% of journalists in Nigeria don't own the media. I was listening to a very senior journalist in Nigeria sometime at the event. I think I asked the question. The Excellency can remember, I know he has a lot of things on his head. Where he hosted us in Transcorp recently. A very senior journalist and one of our leaders was presenting a paper on about setting the agenda. That we have taken, the media have taken the backstage and have allowed politicians to set agenda for Nigeria. And so I asked him this question. When you say media, what do you mean? I'm not a media. I'm a journalist. I'm only operating within the media space. So someone owns his media.
All right, sir. All right. To your question, sir.
Yeah, sorry. So, okay, let me. It's a discussion on the paper, so let me draw you a question. Now the challenge is where journalists are impoverished, because of the problem of ownership, what best do you think they can do? What is the best thing do you think they can do? Because their hands are tied to a string to play to the gallery of those who own these institutions. So in your own view, because I'm thinking, and it has always been my view, that if I have opportunity, I will see what was done in the banking industry to be done in the media industry. Consolidation of the media industry, just like consolidation in the banking sector, so that only people with the capacity of owning media should be allowed to own, so that they can employ and pay, so that journalists can have the independence to practice. Thank you, sir.
You didn't tell us your name, sir.
My name is Dr. Anule Emmanuel.
Anule. You know why I asked your name? Your question sounded like a paper. And it is beautiful and wonderful. Now, what we'll do, questions to governor is still available. Please open. Okay, is that to the governor? Please. Prof, note the question you asked, please.
Your Excellency, good afternoon. My name is Abimbola Bello. I work with Lagos Television. Last night you talked about foreign direct investment and the fact that KOGI has been attracting investors. So my question is this, sir. As much as we commend you for all of the good things you're doing in KOGI, driving into KOGI from Abuja yesterday, the road was one thing that we thought was quite a little bit horrible. So I'd like to ask, sir, are you collaborating with the federal government at bringing reprieve on that road, especially for road users? And if we're talking about investors coming into the state, is that not a turn-off for them? Thank you, Your Excellency.
Well, a code in Ibadan. I hear that my brother Babajiro Titoju has a very special question for the governor. And in fact, your emissaries came to me that I must mention your name. Also, we'll make it very brief. I welcome you.
Okay. I have a question for the governor.
Okay.
And the eminent scholar who just served us a buffet of knowledge today. I'm really grateful, Prof, for the opportunity as a knowledge hunter to learn from you. my state. As you are aware, I'm now proudly KOGI. I've since returned to my state, so there's no ambiguity as to where my loyalty belongs. So thank you for visiting us and giving us such a wonderful paper. Mr. Governor, my concern is about our country. I'm deeply troubled about our country. Sometimes when we go to give speeches here and there, after a few minutes, public officers will start leaving one after another when I begin to talk. Thankfully, there are a few exit points here too. But because it's my state, I'm not going to speak the way I spoke in Kwara State about 3 weeks ago. Because it's my state. My question, as I said, flows from my concern about our country. As somebody who has been governor for more than 5 years, who has taken it upon himself to travel by road, despite the pains associated with it, the backaches that people usually experience once they muster the courage to travel on our roads. We can't doubt the fact that you know Nigeria. You are born in Zaria just like me, and you go around by road. I need you to tell me what, in your view, is the greatest problem we face as a nation. The greatest problem we face, that you are sure that if the president of our country addresses that problem frontally in the first 6 months of his administration, we will begin to see a new Nigeria. A Nigeria that we can all be proud of. But Prof, you said quite a lot that really not just troubled me, but in a way also made me happy. I like to see people who know our country and the problems that we face. One of the things that you talked about that troubled me is the issue of the disinterest of Nigerians to read. It's a very big problem. And the best time, in my view, that people can cultivate the habit of reading, that it will stay with them forever, is between the ages of 16 to 24. After you are above 24 years, life's distractions set in terribly. How do we solve this problem? People are not interested in reading. Some of the things that you said that they don't know their countries, also because people are not prepared to read. Many of us have not gone to even America, but we know some of the things happening there. We read, we know their history. How do we solve this problem?
Okay, thank you very much. Your Excellency, do we take more or you want to? Okay, all right. Let's bring the microphone here, or somebody has hijacked it. Okay.
Thank you very much, Excellency, Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sani Zoro. I'm a reporter. First of all, I wonder whether His Excellency, the Governor of KOGI State, actually has time to read books. Like some of us who are retired from politics, find time to read books these days. Otherwise, I want to refer him to a book by Neil Ferguson. I'm sure many of us may have come across the book. Ferguson, yes. It is entitled Doom, the Politics of Catastrophe. And it appears as if Professor Paquet, took from introduction of that book describing the Nigerian situation. And my question is, if actually Nigeria is faced with this catastrophic situation, what motivates you actually to seek to lead Nigeria out of the woods? That's one. The second one, sir, as far as I'm concerned, both the media as well as other commentators fail actually to locate part of our leadership problem within the context of the two very critical oath of office and oath of allegiance which you all swear to. First of all, the oath of allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria obligates us to serve Nigeria. But more often than not, it is very clear to me that we do otherwise. The most critical one is the oath of office, where we say we will divorce our personal interest. We will not allow our personal interest, to override our duty. Your Excellency will agree with me that the preponderance of those who venture into politics these days, not only into executive offices, but more importantly into legislative offices, the incentive, the motivation of going to such offices is actually to go and pursue personal pecuniary interests. As a young man, a modern governor who has presided over an ancient state, once the capital of Northern Region, the administrative capital of Nigeria, what is actually your vision? How will you reconcile this very important obligation, constitutional obligation, that we seem to observe in the breach? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. There are several hands here. We have heard male voices. Can we have the female, please? My brother Gwenga, I'll come to you, but let's have a few female.
Thank you. My name is Maureen Chibo. I publish Real News Magazine online. Thank you, Professor, for the erudite presentation. But I'm thinking that it's about time for us to have a paradigm shift in funding the media, because you made a presentation here that he who pays the piper dictates the tune. And if some columnists, or as you have talked here, write to promote a cause because they are paid for it, isn't it high time that we started thinking about having a first-line charge for media? Because I'm asking this question bearing in mind that the Constitution gave the media the right, Section 22 precisely, to publish. The same way the other three arms of government, the legislature, the executive, the legislature, the judiciary, they all have first-line charge of funding, but not the media. Is it possible for us to start thinking about paradigm shift so that if the media have a first-line charge, especially those who are working for the state, they will be able to work independently, to hold public officials accountable, because that's our job. Secondly, my question goes to His Excellency, Governor of KOGI State, YAHAYA BELLO. I would also like you to respond, to react to this question, because I know you have intention of leading the country. If we are going to lead the country, and as we are talking about tinkering with the Constitution, do you think this is something achievable? Because I'm thinking of the media actually not being manipulated by government officials I know that state newspapers cannot, some, I'm not talking about yours because I don't really have exactly the idea of what is happening in Kogi, but some state newspapers cannot report the opposition. State-owned radio houses cannot report the opposition. So if the media has a first line of charge, or the press is funded independently, not by the government, but is provided in the Constitution, wouldn't that make them more responsible so that during elections, they will not be focusing on the state governor, they will not be focusing, they will focus on everybody and report objectively? Thank you.
Thank you very much. There's a man that is wearing suit here, please. And then Mr. Kwingaruliba, after him, the microphone comes to you.
Thank you so much. My name is Oladokun Omojola. I teach in Covenant University. I'm a professor of journalism and mass communication. Professor Pate has told us that as a nation, we should come together and talk. I want to ask you, sir, can you, what is the context of this talk? How are we going to sit together and do this talk? And Your Excellency, assuming that you become the president of Nigeria, what will this talk be like? How are you going to gather people together and do this talk? Thank you so much.
Microphone here. Let's take it to the man in the blue t-shirt.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. Prof, I don't have a question for you. Rather, I have words of encouragement. Thank you for a balanced paper. Balanced in the sense that you not only identified all the problems, you also offer suggestions. So, to that extent, I'm not so sure you qualify to be labeled a whaler. Thank you for that. Your Excellency, these are not my questions, so it's not my voice you are hearing. So I'm asking these questions on behalf of some things or some people working in my head. First, I'd like to ask you pointedly, are you actually very serious about your presidential ambition? Or you just want to keep us busy in the media? Flowing from that, sir, is where these other questions are linked to what I just asked you now. One, yesterday you told us that you led your party's membership revalidation and re-registration exercise. And APC today boasts of about 40 million members. Now, I see a paradox here. The popular, okay, sorry, I used that word. I wanted to refrain from using that word. The belief, popular or not, the belief is that the APC has, that's your party, has largely failed Nigerians. Now, if that party, which is a special purpose-built vehicle to get to power, has failed Nigerians, and that is a popular belief, how come you are able to register as many as 40 million people who still want to get on board that unpopular vehicle, probably to get to power? There's a kind of paradox there. And again, every day up until yesterday, you still have members of opposition party decamping from that party to a political party that also probably has not performed. That's another paradox there. How do you see all of this, particularly the popular belief or unpopular belief that your party has left Nigerians adrift? How do you see all of this impacting on your presidential project? Thank you, sir.
We'll pause here. But Professor, before I go to the governor, you were talking about poverty in the media, that they are not well paid. The man that stood up to talk with his stomach, you will know that he's not poor. He's not poor. Okay, there's somebody on the high table that just wants to add one more question, and then His Excellency, you take over. The microphone there. Okay, so, Egbomi, I'll come to you after this.
I need their protection. They keep a mic that doesn't work. Now that I'm protected, sir. First of all, sir, I'm an employee or student of George Bako. I worked under him from NBC. Madam, I'm your baby, and I'm proud to be one. Your Excellency, my concern, I've been in the media a very long time, over 40 years now. And my major concern is, since Kolade was the DG NBC, it took almost the intervention of former governor, Mal Ibrahim Shekarau, to equip the oldest radio station in Nigeria after Lagos. That's Kano Broadcasting Corporation. Everything till I became a managing director. I joined in 1974. I became a managing director in 2006. And no governor has ever looked aside to see how can I operate under George Bako. And then now there's a young Shekarau that was a mate. And they didn't give a damn. So my simple question, sir, are you part of this regime or are you part of the deputy governors? Because he looks very, very charismatic to me. What are you doing truly, honestly, to upgrade your media organizations, radio, TV, newspaper, whatever? Because I'm concerned. I've gone through that process. And I think I also need to be protected. Jujua is my chairman, and we have been going through that. And probably after this meeting, I think I will request humbly that Jujua discuss with His Excellency what's happening to his media. We're interested. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Mr. Bisola, before I am conked on my head.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I have taken it upon myself to say this at every event that I have an opportunity to attend, because I'm extremely worried about it, given my own antecedents. I remember that the last time a symposium was organized in Lagos, 50 years after Nigeria's civil war. Are we together yet? Professor Pat Utomi was one of those who spoke. He also relived his own experience, having been born in Kano almost at the same time as I was, and saw a bit about the war. And he said, have we really forgotten about the war? Because many things don't seem to be working as they should be working. And it's common knowledge that although I speak Igbo language with almost flawlessness of a native, I only learned Igbo in Kano. Nigeria was one. Can we come back to that again? I feel so worried each time I have to say this. Because although you know I grew up in a Christian-dominated environment, but my friends came from all parts of Kano to celebrate with us, just the same way we do with them. So are we having a deliberate effort? I don't know how we can do this. Please give this to us. Let's go and work on it and see how we can do this. I'm worried about it. So I'm leaving it on the laps of all of us here. What do we do about it to get us a lot better than we are, stronger? Of course, Nigeria is indivisible. Nigeria, I can't do it. Nigeria, I know it. Nigeria can kind way. I can act by Nigeria by calling Adam. It's okay. Thank you very much.
A quintessential polyglot. Amazing man. Now, high table, please.
Your Excellency and Chairman of this occasion, ladies and gentlemen, because this is a media event, we must not allow
certain things to go the way they should go in the wrong way. Last night, a gentleman got up and said, I'm from Agence Presse. He repeated again, and I'm down. How can you be working in an organization that you cannot even pronounce its name? I'm sorry, I'm not putting you on the spot, but this is how we learned in broadcasting. Before you finish reading the news, your producer, your GM comes and is waiting for you to tell you this is wrong. It is not presse, please. It is press. I'm sorry, no hard feelings, please. That is one. Then to the speaker, I want to say that part of the things, the institutions we set, we have a capacity or a tendency to even abuse the institutions we set up to check some of the problems we have. For example, Federal Character Commission. Today, if you go to Federal Character Commission, they simply, it has become a place they give slots, you know. So if you are recruiting as a federal agency, they simply ask you, okay, how many slots will you give us? Then they distribute it. So it's no longer functioning the way it should function as a Federal Character Commission. Now, on the issue of education, I attended the University of Maiduguri like you. When I attended University of Maiduguri, at least half of University of Maiduguri was, the students were from the south. In fact, you cannot win election, I won election mainly because I had to find a way of getting my brothers from the south. And that was the same story, I believe, of ABU. But now our universities have become so provincialized. Let's say you are, now while you are in Kashere, like you said, how many people even know what is Kashere? To even now say Kashere is in Gombe State. So this is a federal university, but it has become a kind of community university. My question is, what can we do to insist that somebody from River State or Bayero University in Bayelsa or University of Benin, again, against the background of the fact that some of the states, especially in the north, cannot even fill the quota of their own states. So what can we do to practically insist and ensure that some of this, there's a mix, a very good mix. Otherwise, in some universities you can actually speak the same language, a native language, and it is, you know, and it goes on like that. So what can we do, you in your capacity as a professor who has interacted with NUC, is there anything we can do deliberately to ensure a better mix of the federal universities? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. I love what you've just done in terms of correcting pronunciation. This was done in those days when people were called announcers and newsreaders. The younger ones now are OAPs. I don't know what it means. And so, Your Excellency, the floor is yours. Okay, do we start with the professor? And then, Prof, please take your questions very quickly. You can take it on your seat.
Thank you, Your Excellency, the Chairman, sir. I have, I think, 6 questions to answer all. So I'll try as quickly as I could. The one from Dr. Emmanuel on the poverty in the media. It's not only in the media, it's all over the place. And the media depends on the strength of our economy for it even to survive. But when the economy is weak and people cannot even afford to pay for newspapers, you can't ask them to subscribe. And they have an alternative. This conventional media is getting a very strong competition from the social media, where everything is almost free except for the data that you pay for. And then the newspapers are expensive. The radio stations also have to depend on adverts. As I'm talking to you, well, I have got a grant from the MacArthur Foundation. We are working on some things, and one of it is on media economics. Before the end of this year, we are going to organize a national conference on media economics and management in Bayero University, Kano, where I used to be. And we are going to examine the issue of funding. The current funding model is failing. So what efforts can we think of to come up with alternative sustainable measures for the media, particularly in the Nigerian context. And this is not only in Nigeria, it's global. The social media is giving us a stiff competition. In 2019, I attended the World Editors Congress in Glasgow. We were told that of the $556 billion generated in advert revenue, almost 70% went to the big social media groups. The print and the broadcast just got a little of it. The same thing is happening in Nigeria. If you want to survive, you have to be online. So we have to put on our thinking caps and come up with funding options. We don't have the time to go into the details. Or if you want, give me a consultancy, I'll give you the details. So then my friend from, is it TVC, if I remember, who changed his state, all former documents remaining valid. So he raised the issue of how can we improve the reading culture. Look, again, it's not only Nigeria. It is also global because of the advent of the social media and the internet. People's attention are more towards the audio and video now. So for you to go into real reading, it has to start from the family. And how many of our parents even read today? Even starting from newspapers. And in the school system also, the books are simply not available as you used to do, as you used to get them. And where they're available, they're expensive, getting good quality books. So even in the universities, we are seriously struggling with this issue of reading culture. It's a global national, it's a national problem. How many of our leaders read books? Even newspapers. Many of them, they summarize this thing and tell them. So we have an issue, but let's start from the family. Encourage your children to read. Then when they come to school, when we tell them to read, they will read, and we won't have problems. And examination malpractices, you know it. It's global, it has so infested our system. People cheat, pass exams without even reading. And when they come to the university with 10 credits, give them one exam in a semester, they fail. And yet parents connive and help their children to cheat. So it's a national problem. Then Maureen talked about the issue of survivability. We know that economic independence determines editorial independence. Once you are not economically independent, you cannot expect to become editorially independent. It's an issue. And of course, like I've talked about the funding models, the social media is making a lot of money now, but some of them are making this money at the expense of truth. And this is why people are saying truth is under attack. And our young people who are growing, who do not even know the history of Nigeria, depend on the lies that they read today, and that is their own stories. So it's an ongoing debate all over the place, and we should continue to think and explore options. Then my very good friend, Professor Omojola here, talked about debates. I'm not talking about other national debate or national conference like the politicians talked about. That's not my thinking. My thinking is, amongst ourselves, on our media, let's debate on almost every subject. Issue of religion, issue of this, issue of that. But many of us even fear about talking. And when we talk, sometimes we talk with arrogance. It's our name, it's this, it's our this, it's our that. And that's not debating. In the universities, we debate a lot amongst ourselves. And we should encourage that culture even in our houses of assemblies, in our parliament. Let's bring all issues on the table. Let's open up. Let's look at the pros and cons. And at the end of the day, let superiority of reasoning lead our thinking and behavior so that people will now talk about excellence. But once it is, we no longer talk, we don't talk on issues, Boko Haram, this and that, we close issues. There's no way we can progress. Let's open up. What do we fear? Let's talk. On almost every subject, let radio stations create the airtime. But once they put price tag, people will not go. Then, so I'm just talking about exchange of ideas across the various divides. Then, our guy, Bisi Olatilo, talked about the indivisibility of Nigeria. Yes, but like I've said, we should not take it for granted. Our elites are supposed to be our leaders. They're supposed to be those that will show us the light. We have 5 categories of elites: military elite, political elite, business elite, bureaucratic elite, and intellectual elites. What is the behavior of each of our elites? Each one has his own role specifically cut out in society. But when the business elite or the bureaucratic elite takes over the duty of the business elites, the military elite takes over the duty of the political elite, then there will be a problem. And this is exactly what we are having. Our elites are not showing the light. And when they are not showing the light, the rest of us will be confused and will not know which road to follow. And when they talk about their own tribes instead of the national tribe, then there is a problem. And you could see when you hear certain remarks of some of our leaders in parliament at times, on the floor of parliament, when they talk about their own people against Nigeria, you feel disheartened. And you feel, are these people that will show us the light? Are these people that will lead us? So then how can we also nationalize our institutions? I've talked about this again. In the past, our parents were transferred from one place to another. You went on school system, you did this, you did that, but all these things today are not there, except the military. Who goes on transfer now? Nobody. So you remain in one place, your children grow up in one place, they grow up in one place, they will know Nigeria. At the end of the day, like I've said, we sit in our own local corners and talking about religion. We just concentrate on issue of religion, on issue of ethnicity. We don't talk on issue of competence, quality of governance, the recruitment system, and other issues that should help us to galvanize. The moment you raise it, issue of ethnicity comes up. And then you feel sometimes you just recoil into your call, you don't open your mouth so that you are not accused of being against. You want to flow with the rest of the tide. And at the end of the day, the wrong tide is leading. So it's a very big issue. Government must concretize deliberate policies like we did in the past. The NECO, these were bodies created to ensure national integration. JAM, these are all bodies created to strengthen coordination and whatever in our educational systems. The big universities. So parents must also make deliberate policies to encourage their children to go around, but they tell you insecurity, no scholarship, no this, no that. So the safest is to ensure that your children stay in one place. But then it is the responsibility of our elites and government. These are the two major institutions that should lead us. Then finally, in the past, parents were, okay, it's the same question raised by my brother, the former DG of Voice of Nigeria, Alhaji Jijiwa. So, Your Excellency, sir, I don't know whether I've attempted rightly or not, but I have also, but I've done what I think I could in the present circumstances. So I thank you for your kind attention, and I thank you most sincerely also for listening to me.
All right. Prof, there was a word you used there, that when the thing gets, when the storm comes, it faces it like a trained and tested pilot. So over to you, Your Excellency.
Well, Your Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Kogi State, my Siamese twin, my brother from another woman's womb, my dependable ally, and my former Chief of Staff, Edward David Onoja. My Chief of Staff, workaholic, never tired, very, very tenacious. Pharmacist Abdul Karim Mohamed Jamiu Azuku. Where's the speaker? Okay. Well, the Speaker, Kogi State House of Assembly, that has gone to ease himself. Oh, he's on his way back. Right Honorable Prince Matthew Kolawole, the Director General, National Theatre, Professor Sunday Ododo. Our guest speaker, Professor Umaru Pate. You're most welcome, sir. I've been hearing your name too for a very long time. And I've been looking for how to buy ticket to come and see you. I never knew. I think my special appreciation to NMMA for bringing you to Kogi State today. The Chairman, Board of Trustees of NMMA Kogi 2021, Dr. Harun Rashid Adamu, and other members of the trustees. All other government officials here present, the chairman local organizing committee of the 29th NMMA Grand Media Excellence Program, Dr. Ronke Bello and her team, the chairman of KOGI State Economic Team, Mr. Salami Inda Ali, and all of your team. Let me recognize and appreciate the NUJ chairman, Comrade Momo Jimo Adeza. Are you here? Okay, well, let's fulfill that protocol. The media leaders and professionals, corporate communication executives, media associates and leaders of corporate Nigeria from across the nation, media delegates, participants, and other critical stakeholders in the media sector, other invited guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I will first of all appreciate our guest speaker, Professor Umaru Pate, for eloquently giving us an insight into the challenges of nowadays, especially as it affects our nation building. More often than not, we or the country or media organizations or bodies have organized talk shows, symposia, and several roundtable meetings. A lot will be said. We will expose or x-ray Nigeria's problems. Right from when I was very young, from my primary school, secondary school, my tertiary institutions, when I was attending all of them, I used to follow my brothers, Prof, or my other brother that was serving in the military then, to attend organizations or media or symposium, and a lot of talks since then till now. Wonderfully, either by professors like we have from Professor Umaru Pate today, or some leaders, either political, religious, or however. And then we come up with so many problems of this country, and solutions to be provided. Yet, we're still confronted with the same problems. We have the problem of our inability to manage our diversity as enumerated by our prof, weak institutions, leaders' attitudes, it's very important, mutual suspicion, corruption, and host of others as enumerated by you, sir. I sincerely appreciate you for bringing all of this again, at least to refreshing our memory, to put those of us in position of authorities today on our toes. I sincerely appreciate you for that. And let me honestly once again appreciate you for probably telling Nigerians what I do. I travel around the whole country by road. I don't know how some people got to understand. They were like, are you afraid of flying? Or you don't want to die? I used to say, in those days, I used to be afraid of death. But since last year, I think I have developed thick skin. And I don't think I'm afraid of death any longer. Why? I used to be afraid because I am the last born of my mother. She's old. I wouldn't want my mother to bury me. But as God will have it, after the age of 101, I buried my mother very nicely. So, now that she lay before me, and this time around I'm good. So, anytime anything can happen, I am just too good. So if you think I am afraid of flying, far from it. But I think it's good I move around to feel what Nigerians feel, to see and experience what they experience on the road, and let me see this country how it is. It started right from our first term since 2016 till date. That is who we are. We're here to serve the people. So thank you for really bringing it out. I didn't know that you are observing us momentarily a while ago. This is why, or the reason why Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari is striving hard to ensure that there's power in this country. And that's why he's investing heavily in the Mambila Hydro power dam that will require a lot of local content, including steel or iron, that ordinarily we should be producing in Ajakuta here, and a lot of cement from both our Bajena, from Gombe, and other places. I think those that are responsible should be listening to me and hearing exactly what I mean. That Mr. President's effort to ensure that there's power in this country should not be sabotaged. Now, my dear brothers, let me attempt to answer these challenges, some of these questions. And you will permit me to be as frank as possible. And please report it as it is. I beg you, don't add Yara. And don't remove one single word. I'll say it as it is, or to the best of my knowledge. My brother from Lagos State Television, my sister, Abimbola Bello, I thank you so much for observing what you observed. That when you're coming from Abuja, even though we boast of attracting investors into Kogi State, but the road leading to Kogi State back. This is more than enough. Let me tell you, continue to fall on themselves because they know Kogi is safe. The people are safe here. But let me tell you, this is one of the reasons why you see some segments of this country rise against government. Just about, I think in the last Federal Executive Council meeting, over 600 billion approved for NMPC or by NMPC, I don't know, to fix some roads in this country. We were told that those roads that were selected are economically viable ones. And then no single Kogi economically viable. That's what we were told. Since 2008, I visited the Honorable Minister of Works, His Excellency Babatunde Raji Fashola, 3 times in his office. What made this? I've made several calls about Kogi Federal Road. We're still where we are since that time. It will interest you that some of these roads were awarded since 2007. Especially the roads from Abaji to Lokoja here, to Okene, across to Benin. Since 2007, how many years now? The regime of President Olusegun Obasanjo awarded it. The regime Musa Yar'Adua was never done. The regime of more than 80% transportation of goods and services between the north and south passes through Kogi State at one point or another. Here in Kogi State, we bear the brunt. In fact, the ongoing Ganaja flyover, that interchange, is supposed to be federal government road or project, but we're doing it. The moment you're coming from FCT, you get to the boundary between FCT and Kogi State, you make bad road. The moment you're coming from the southwest, either through Ekiti or through Ondo, the moment you cross into Kogi State, you make bad road. The moment you're coming from the south, from south-south via Edo State, once you get to Kogi boundary, that is exactly what you experience. If you are coming from the southeast, through Enugu or through Anambra, the moment you get to our boundary, that is what you meet. And as soon as you cross over from Kogi State, that is exactly what you face. Even the ongoing road between Kaba down to Yagba area to Ilori, right now, the communities have to now use their cutlasses and hoes to divert vehicles through the bush. That is what we are experiencing here in Kogi. But let me tell you something. In the year of the almighty coronavirus, when every state locked down, I will refuse to lock down. Almost every citizen that passes through will have to hibernate here and monitor how to move into their various other states. It got to a point when some of us decided to even lift the ban and open the ways. I don't know how many times I was called to please not lock down my border between Kogi State and all of these states that share borders with us. Because by so doing, we would have cut the country into two sharply. If Muritala Mohammed Bridge is blocked today, both north and south will feel the impact. If branch, that's between us and the southeast, if that road should be blocked today, the whole north and south is completely divided. If Okene Road, either leading to Auchi or the one leading to Ekiti, or is blocked today, the whole north and south is completely divided. We're not just doing that. The peace and security that FCT is enjoying today is because of what we're doing here in Kogi State. We are managing not only our own securities in Kogi State here, managing the limited resources in Kogi State here to hold our citizens and those that are passing through Kogi State. We are managing also other 10 states because we bother other 10 states in Kogi State here. This is the deprivation that Kogi State is suffering today, my dear sister. We belong to the same political party. Kogi is not an Abga state. Kogi has since left PDP's hand to APC. Why are we being treated this way? Our National Assembly members have jointly and severally visited Governor Fashola in his office. And nothing has been done. Maybe Kogi is no longer part of this country. The same treatment that we are being treated, that you have observed in the road infrastructure, that is exactly what we are facing in the completion of our Jakarta steel rolling mill. That is the same treatment we faced in the issue of dredging River Niger down to Lokoja here. The very administration that is going to take KOGI seriously will be an administration that's going to be fair to this country, and that administration will be ready for economic emancipation of this country. No nation will have a giant investment hub like Kogi State and neglect it. I'm not saying other states are not viable. Other roads are not viable. They are equally viable. So that is what we are suffering here. There have been several calls for agitations by citizens of Kogi State, youth, women, businessmen. But I have been able to pacify them, to be calm and relaxed, because I know surely our president is a president that stands for justice, fairness, and equity. I know surely something is going to be done about that. But I have to report to you and tell you exactly how it is. Surely justice is going to come our way. Now to the very big one again. My brother, Mr. Otitoju, you want to dip hand into my mouth. You are sincerely concerned about this country, the state of the nation. What should a CNC do to address the country to make sure Nigeria change? Well, I'm here to be Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I will attempt to just say a little. I will not speak for anybody, but I'll speak for myself. Mr. President, President Muhammadu Buhari is doing his best to ensure that this country develop and become prosperous. Let us remember that this wonderful man fought to keep this country together in the military. In all the positions that's ever held in this country, he served to the best of his ability, unblemished, up to this point. We gave Mr. President the mandate to lead this country. He's doing that to the best of his ability. What he has done so far, compare it to the past administrations, especially if you compare it to the immediate past administration before him. You can't compare them, considering the various challenges he faced when he came into office. Today, I'm a chief executive of KOGI State. As much as he is the chief executive as far as the whole country is concerned. Every blame and successes, you take it. If this administration do well, or any of my officials perform well, I will take the credit. If they did not perform well, I will take the blame. But it may not necessarily be my own blame. So Mr. President has done his best, doing his best. Is it Mr. President that will say that KOGI road should not be tarred? I know at all times, and severally have met Mr. President on Ajaokuta, and Mr. President has always taken it very seriously. He went as far as even constituting a committee. Where's finance? Committee to overlook the successful completion of Ajaokuta. It is not Mr. President that you will expect to come there and then complete it himself. But there are those that is saddled with those responsibilities. What are they doing? It is not Mr. President that is going to call contractors and say what is happening to Kogi Road, or what is happening to River Niger Drop. There are those that are responsible for that. What are they doing? Mr. President, policies and programs are being executed by some others. What are they doing? My dear brother, the problems facing this country is much. At the same time, it is very simple to solve. I will not be commander-in-chief and allow any of my subordinates to undermine me. None of my subordinates here can try it. Nobody. Starting from my deputy to the least down the line. You can't try it. Let me tell you, my dear brother, when we came on board, and this was satisfy almost all the other questions. When we came on board, we inherited a state that was largely divided against itself. I'm sure you know at that time, myself and you, I from the central, you from the west, we look at the Igalas as our enemies. There is that mutual suspicion. When we came on board, even within the senatorial district, there are divisions, like where I came from. We have clan issues. We were divided amongst ourselves along clannish line. Even within the same religion, the Islam, there are sects. Some will say, I am Tijaniya, this one is Qadiriya, this one is that and that. There were these divisions. The divisions were so deep that we were at each other's throats then. And there was this sharp divide between the leaders and the led. When I came on board, my first body language suggests that I am not out for that. Here is my deputy governor. Immediately I was sworn in at the Confluence Stadium. Before I got to the government house, I made the first announcement of my appointees. Because I knew then that the norm is you must bring your chief of staff from where you come from. Then I had received a lot of CVs. There were pressures. Some traditional rulers, some prominent citizens of the state, retired military, retired these, serving that. Big men. Kogi have a lot, we have a lot of big men outside the state. If you want to know our big men, one day there is an occasion we are going to organize, they will come. You see our big men. Very influential, including Otitoju himself. So there was so much pressure about who should be your chief of staff, who should be your engine room, who should be the chief of staff. And I'd already prepared my mind what I was going to do. Because I wouldn't want to be led into something I don't believe in. And I wouldn't want to be, caged and be, enveloped. And then I won't have any say. There and then I called the person that is in charge of the radio station to announce my chief of staff as Edward David Onoja from Eastern Senatorial District, while I'm from Central. A devoted Christian, while I'm a devoted Muslim. I announced my chief press secretary, who will be my mouthpiece, from the Western Senatorial District, an evangelist, and I announced my SSA media, at least to balance it, from my senatorial district, but a different local government. Before I arrived, those that were waiting with their CVs ready to, they simply asked me that they had an announcement. What is that? Is that the true position? I said, yes, that is the true position. And I didn't give anybody any room to interfere. So from the very first day, we had our core values, and we have our taboos. Judging from what was happening then in the state, infrastructural decay and what have you, mutual suspicion, all that has been mentioned earlier by the Prof, were existing here in Kogi State. It was so entrenched, so deep-rooted in Kogi State. So, and I simply make sure that up to this moment we follow those core values and we have abhor those taboos. And what is the first core value? Character. Those who will serve along with me to serve the people must possess upright character. You must have capacity to serve, irrespective of where you come from. I don't care. Do you have the capacity to serve the people? It will interest you that even those from outside Kogi State are serving with us today, even in our cabinet. I have Igbos in my cabinet. I have a Lagosian. I have somebody from Ogun State. I have somebody from as far as Borno State. I have Kaduna people here. I have Benue people. All around. So long as you have the capacity to serve, please, I hunt for brain and talent and capacity. And then, who is ready to serve selflessly? These are the mix we put together in Kogi State. And what are our taboos? They've been mentioned earlier still by the Prof. Ethnicity, religious differences, and class difference. I don't need to go into the details. I ensure all these things are our taboo. If anything, we make sure we identify them and make them to be part of our strength. We ensure that our appointments balanced. No local government is not represented. No local governments that are not feeling the impact of this government. In fact, as a matter of fact, our first term, we devoted it mostly to serve the people from the rural areas than the urban, despite the paucity of funds and all the challenges we faced in the first term. So, my dear brother, the nation requires a unifier today. This country requires who is coming to practice this mix as we have it in Kogi State nationwide, to avoid mutual suspicion, so that we all have the same sense of belonging. Today in Kogi State, you can't say this one is an Igala man, this one is an Oku man, that one is an Ibra man. It's not possible. It has been demonstrated severally. And that is why even in our last party congresses, it was so smooth. You can't hear any parallel congress here or there. Because naturally, of course, water will find its level. I don't have to interfere or intervene. It was equally evident in our last elections, where for the first time, it has never happened in the history of Kogi State, where APC swept all the seats in this Kogi State House of Assembly. And then we recorded a major feat in all other elections. Today in Kogi State, every citizen, I am happy that you are now a proud citizen of Kogi State, unlike before. It wasn't so before. You can attest to that. It is because you know that there is a sense of fairness, equity, and justice. It is because you know that our state is largely secured and safe. Because today you are proud of Kogi State. Once all of these are mixed in the country, we'll all be proud Nigerians. Unfortunately, we have leaders who today they are national leader, but tomorrow they are regional advocates. It's unfortunate. I think it's good you continue to tell us, where did we mix it? Where did we get it wrong? At what point? And once we realize, what do we do to return back to our old good days? Everything boils down to leadership. If we are talking of how would we reconcile the issue of our official conduct and personal conduct as it is contained in our oath of office, it is all about leadership. Moving forward, there are those that are throwing themselves for leadership today. We have our records. We have our history. We should be able to reflect on all of this. And who are those that are going to drive the system? The media, the journalists. What impression do you create in the minds of Nigerians and those of our friends? It will likely determine the kind of leadership we will have. And as we preach it, we must practice it both at home and in our working places. Now we're talking of the federal government and state having first share or share of the national cake, and you want the press, which is the fourth estate of the realm. I think one of our sisters, requested for that. Well, it would have been nice if they're equally a partaker of the national cake. But don't you think the voice of the media will be suppressed? Because they say he who dictates the tune will pay the piper, dictate the tune. You see, let me tell you something. Today I'm in government, I'm here. If I pay you, and I am bad, and you know a lot of this happens, there are certain things you can never report. Simply, I don't know whether bill or legislation that somebody or made a federal, I don't know, about issue of regulation of fake news, came up on the floor, and there are a lot of hues and cries. So if you are now in the coffers or in the purse of the government, there's an extent to which you will be able to have your voice. In order to avoid gagging and what have you, I think yourselves, if you can regulate yourselves very well, self-regulation. If you look at several other professional bodies today, they are not they're not drawing from the federal government coffers. You have Nigeria NMA, Nigeria Medical Association. You have Pharmaceutical Associations of Nigeria. You have engineering, that is Koren. You have NBA and several others. But they are self-regulatory. But the media is so powerful. It's so powerful. Anyway, I think I still have a lot of comment on that in just a few minutes or a few hours from now. So I think it will be well addressed in that. One of our gentlemen asked, assuming I become the commander-in-chief, how would I lead the discussion of this national talk or whatever? I think there's a question like that. Like I said, in Kogi State, at the time we were almost agitating for a conference where we shall sit down on power rotation and what have you, so that Igalas we can take power from Igalas. Abi? Even when I was contesting in 2015, there is this Central or West Central coalition. You are one of them at that time, you know, to wrestle power from the Igalas. Nobody is talking of wrestling power from anywhere now. I want to believe that what the citizens of Kogi State want now is who is going to come and build on what we have, what we are laying. By the time we have a leader in this country whose body language and conduct by his lieutenants and executioners depict that of unity, fairness, and justice, all these agitations would naturally come down. But so long as some of these things persist, imagine I'm an APC governor, a frontliner, you know, and then everybody call me Baba Buhari's son. But here's my federal roads. And that is what is being used to judge my performance in Kogi State today. So if I hold placard today to go and stay in front of the villa, that is agitation, isn't it? Leadership at the top matters. Now, to my brother, Denga Aruleba. Yes, I led the mobilization and sensitization of members into our great party, and we have recorded that number of membership so far. Well, if some people are saying APC have failed, well, I think that is their own subjective thinking or perception. It's subjective because it will interest you. I mean, how would you say that somewhere is bad and then everybody is still trooping in there? I don't know how to place it. It is not only membership that we have registered this much. Even leaders. I did mention that governors will join us. Today we have governors from PDP that have joined APC. We have senators. We have reps and assembly members, both serving and past, that have joined us. This accounts for the kind of leadership we have in APC once again. Mr. President will make sure that you have a voice. Mr. President will not stifle you. Our party have one leader. And the leader of our great party, the APC, is President Muhammadu Buhari. Considering where he took over from the leadership of this country in 2015, the available resources, the kind of even human beings that is managing from top down, and considering his age, yet he has recorded these successes. I think it's more than enough for people to troop into our party. It is the only party that have given voice to the younger generation. It is the only party that have given voice to the women and have given recognition to people living with special needs. Mr. President, despite the vote he recorded from the various segments of this country, he ensured that even appointments are distributed evenly. In fact, in some cases, we felt even those of us that are closer to him were even being marginalized. Because how will you place it? that our performance in 2015 and in 2019 will warrant Minister of State twice. Meanwhile, there are states in this country who did not give him even 25%. They're not just having grade A ministry, but they're having 2 ministers and other appointments, boards, agencies, and parastatals. But because we believe in him, we believe in his leadership, we have to follow him. So these are the qualities. On one hand, you can criticize him for not carrying, let the winner takes all. But you say, no, the winners cannot just take it all. This is one Nigeria. So let everybody come on board. This is exactly, and several other qualities of President Muhammadu Buhari that some Nigerians don't know. But when they come to realize it, they become his ardent supporters. I'm sure you know there are those who are at the other side and they were throwing stones at him. Today, they have turned to his disciple. If you don't come close to President Muhammadu Buhari, you will know who that wonderful man is. And that is the kind of person we have as a leader in this party. And because everybody knows that Mr. President will not impose a candidate on the people, because everybody knows that Mr. President, if you win your election, he will make sure that you are declared. He has practiced it severally. The election of Obiano second term, and several other isolated elections. In fact, Mr. President was even preparing for the swearing in of our governor-elect in Bayelsa. Advanced team were already there. And then Supreme Court decided otherwise. I think even some of us that are in the hall today will not take that. You want to stifle the judiciary and what have you. This is Mr. President that has granted autonomy to both judiciary and the legislature. Mr. President has even given everybody the freedom to say whatever you want to say. I'm sure there are people, certain set of people that will be commander-in-chief, and you can't even shout in your enclave. It has happened in this country before. So to a very large extent, Mr. President has allowed us to air our view, have our way, so long as it's within the confines of the law. These and many more that he has executed are attracting people into the party. All we simply do, or all we did, was to simply re-echo and remind Nigerians about what Mr. President stands for, what APC stands for, and then it attracts a lot of people. Even the opposition who are not in power today are imposing. But here in APC, we don't impose. We don't stifle. So my dear brother, about you want to know how will this impact, or you want to know my intention about 2023? You want to put hand in my mouth. You know, if you're answering a Bengali level, you have to be very careful. Nigerians are calling on me. Millions of Nigerians, both young and old, women alike, both at home and abroad, to repeat this display of leadership quality that we are experiencing today in Kogi State across the nation. To be able to build on the achievements and successes of President Muhammadu Buhari. My dear brother, the time is ticking, and everybody is eager to hear what I will say. I will say very soon, I am going to give a definite and affirmative response to that question. However, I will not disappoint Nigerians. On the media house, all of our media outfits in KOGI State, sir, I think if you, those of our team that has gone around to visit project sites will come back with a testimony that our flagship media house, the graphics, that used to operate from, will I say, more or less like 2 or 3 bedroom office, today is housing an edifice. And some of all of our other television stations, those that are lacking in transmitter or gen and what have you, are all wearing new faces. And also, we are injecting new and capable hands to drive the system in these various media outfits. My dear brother, BC Olatilo, I sincerely appreciate you. Sometimes I get, confused. I don't know where you come from, but I am always, the only consolation is that I know that this is a true Nigerian. Because if he's speaking Hausa, he speaks it very fluently. Igbo language, very fluently. Or Yoruba, he speaks very, very fluently. Sometimes, even if he's speaking Ibira or Igala, he speaks it very, very fluently. Thank you very much. You are a true Nigerian, and we can feel your passion for this country. Continue to be with us and continue to preach and continue to speak loud. I know that Nigeria is on the path of development, cohesion, and unity. Let us continue to play our path. We as leaders today in the position of authorities, and those of you that are so powerful, please shape the narrative. What we will have in 2023 is largely dependent on what you want. How you shape the narrative for Nigerians to be able to take a decision. Thank you, and God bless all of you.
Excellency, which one is on? It's not. It's not. It's not. Your Excellency, the Governor, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. When you finished your CNC address, I didn't say that. And then the applause was rendered. Again, I brought out my applause meter. And he told me it was one worthy of a chief of staff. But how can we now give a governor another round of applause? Thank you very much. So we'll quickly round up this. Let me invite the former MD of Radio Kano, a member of the Board of Trustees of the Nigerian Media Narrative Award, to quickly do a short vote of thanks, and then we all go to the photo stand outside for a group photograph, and then we'll wrap up this event.
Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of KOGI State, I've been asked to say a big thank you. But permit me, sir, within the little time available given to me, I don't want to say this vote of thanks by via protocol, starting from governor to the last. I'd rather do from the last to the end of it, which is your good self, sir. I need to tell you, as a member of Board of Trustees and a member of, we have judges here who did the work. And believe me, it would be unfair if we leave this place without recognizing the indefatigable members of the panel of assessors. There are many here that I can see. Antibala, please can you get up? Please do. Mohamed Awar is one of them. Dr. Mojala, why are you hiding? I haven't seen many of them. Please, everybody from panel of assessors. Okay, I know this man. This guy is not from KOGI, he's from Kano. Fantastic. So there are many cool guys in the panel of assessors. Honestly, sir, these guys spend sleepless nights to assess these awards or these entries. And I'm sure tonight you have a lot more. If I were to tell you, the chief administrator, many years, I've worked with him for about 25 years, and his dedicated staff. I swear to God, sir, some of them sleep in the office. In fact, one time I was worried whether Mrs. Akeju was dealing with Akeju, how she didn't get another husband. Seriously, and I've been telling him that I think he needs to take care of his wife very seriously. Let me also take this singular honor and privilege, sir, I haven't seen Bishop Bako for a very long time, sir. Yes, my honorable boss, all the bishop, Prince Alatula, you better listen to me. I'm not here, and many of the broadcasters are here. Whatever we are today, I swear to God, sir, because of this gentleman. They trained us. I don't know if Benga is part of our team, because Benga at one time was even a victim. He was so popular, his management removed him. He didn't know we know. But he's been another case for himself. Benga, I wish you all the best. So, sir, let me thank your admirable wife. And because of you, I swear to God, sir, for the last 25 years of my life, anywhere I step my little right leg, my wife is on my second left. Mark should attest to that. Anywhere I go, anywhere in the world, I carry my wife along. And most of these guys are not copying us. So they even will learn from you, sir. Even Dr. Kalade. So, sir, on behalf of Dr. Aruna Damu, your colleague, your friend, your brother, I don't know, all of you are special human beings. You wouldn't know this man was our father. He taught us all. He's from Bauchi, but I never knew he was from Bauchi until much later. I've always believed he's a Kano man. Because he trained my governor, he trained all of us. He started a publishing company, of which Margaret already became a managing director one time. So, sir, madam, I swear to God, I didn't know how to come and say thank you. I would have brought whatever goodies from Kano. But I will find time now we have an admirable governor to deal with. Thank you very much, sir. The next stage, of course, is my colleagues in the Media Merit Award. We went through difficult times to get here. And I must thank their perseverance for getting you to agree to host us. And I'm very happy that I'm here in Lokoja. Many of my colleagues were skeptical to come because they didn't know which emphasizes there is some measure of lack of information for what you, your government, and your people are doing, honestly. I have lots of your indigenous here, many of them like my colleagues, and I think they need to do a little bit more to tell the world what is happening here. And I am delighted our chairman agreed to come to, I don't know when they connived to get KOGI to host us. So for that, singular much. Now, to Professor Patti, sir. Your Excellency, I don't think you know Professor Patti. I don't even think the Chief Administrator has ever met him. But this is a guy who's my younger brother, but I admire him a lot. And I swear to God, if you have people like him, this country will be good. So you know why I'm saying this, Your Excellency? This is a man who's not from Kano. I was born and bred in Kano, but I grew up in Enugu, I lived in Ojiriva, I lived in Oka, I lived in Abakaliki. There was nowhere I didn't live in the East. But they didn't teach me how to speak Igbo. They only speak either English or Pidgin. And this man went to Kano land Igbo Yoruba and is competing with me. So you see, you can see the other side of Nigeria. You are a good Nigerian, but didn't teach me Igbo so that I can shine. So, sir, Professor Patti is a unique human being. You know, because he's here, I've told the chief administrator, there are those who flout the professorial chair. But this is a very simple man. He's one that wants to educate many, many others, unlike many others who don't want to allow the younger ones to grow. So please, sir, if you can, encourage him to continue what he's doing. I've already spoken to the chief administrator, and I'm happy. Professor Pate, I'm happy you're here. If I'm in his position, I will scoop you and bring you to KOGI so that you add a value to your state. So before I say anything about you, let me say thank you, Deputy. He's somebody I admired a lot. You know why? This is a very simple Deputy Governor. I've never seen anybody so humble. Maybe he got I don't know, influenced by you because you are a governor, but you are a governor of the young. I'm older than you, but I'm proud of you. Because if this country will change our attitude, all these old men that you hear, don't like Governor YAHAYA BELLO, white lion, am I correct? It's because there is general malaise and lack of education, lack of exposure. And believe me, your deputy, I pray to God that he will step into your shoes and do a lot more. I like him a lot. I have met him only yesterday. Am I right, Your Excellency? So your team, I swear to God, you have a good team. And continue with them. Now, they said, yeah. Your Excellency, yes, sir. Your Excellency, people are accusing me of being partisan. I have every right to be partisan. You know why? This is a free country. And it's an opportunity I have that I may never have again. And I thank my chief administrator. Sir, I don't know how to describe you. I read a lot about you, but there is a lot more that I don't know about you. But the fact that you ask us to come to KOGI is an excellent decision. And believe me, for you to even bring my Oga, Bishop, and Mrs. Judge Bako, I think to me you are a very smart man. Very, very smart. Very, very, honestly. I've been watching you on TV, on social media, and blah, 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 blah. And what you're doing, believe me, continue with it. I won't say nothing. If the enemy wants to thank you at night, they may. But I've been asked to say thank you very, very much for. It's an opportunity for me to also address some of my colleagues who are in the media. You have some of them that are independent, there are some of them who are not independent. I will say this honestly, you can quote me. I'm an individual, I'm not Governor YAHAYA BELLO. All right? I'm an individual citizen, I have right of expression. Sir, before I take my seat, somebody I can remember, Senator Kabiruga, he was my governor, a very good friend of mine, told me that if I have an opportunity to address the governor, and today God has given me that privilege to address you, I have 3 personal requests. 1, please, sir, I'm a sports guy. I love it. I went all over this country because of sports. Get us a team, a national team in Lokoja. Develop sports, build a stadium if you can in the next 2 years before you leave. That's my number 1 request. Number 2, you have done, the chief administrator told me he went to your media houses. I haven't been there, so I can't tell. But you confirmed you have done a wonderful job. So that's all part of my request. You have done it. Okay, build an airport, if you can. We have discussed that you have potentials for whatever the other guys are asking you. And then the last but not the least, pursue your dream. This is my request, my personal one. Irrespective of whatever anybody thinks in this country, pursue your dream. And on this note, I thank you sincerely for giving me an opportunity to say thank you, and thank you. And may you go home safely. Thank you.
You know, I believe every word of his vote of thanks. You know why? Because I swear to God, I counted, he used it 10 times. Okay, believe me. Okay, believe me was used 15 times. But the last part of it that makes me happy is that he said he's a sportsman. And I just checked my phone now, and Arsenal won away at Leicester. Okay, Chelsea won. And then, sorry for Man City supporters, you are beaten at home. And so, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Benga, we have given the league to Chelsea. We have given it. Let me thank all of you. This is how it starts. I will stand the evening event, which is actually the reason why KOGI is hosting, is at 7:30. The man that did the vote of thanks said, what did they connive? What did they do to bring the event here? It's Dr. BELLO in the house. Please step forward. Come there. Come. Come this way. Come. Just come. Just come. Let's put our hands together for her, ladies and gentlemen. I might not explain why we are clapping for her, but she knows why. And NMA also knows why. But what I will say, the journey for you is long. The governor has in his hand, in this lady, a gem. So we shall rise now to take the national anthem, go to the photo place, and then meet at 7:30 in the evening. The national anthem, please. My job is done for now. The DG protocols, please step forward. He will take us to the photograph place and organize the rest.